Hey everyone, welcome back to Unlearn Become. I realized that in my first video I didn't actually introduce myself. So my name is Kate. I am the facilitator of this idea called Unlearn Become, which if you haven't watched the first video, the premise of this channel and everything that may arise that's related to it is all about unlearning the things that prevent us from becoming the most fulfilled and whole versions of ourselves. I see that as living by our values, integrating all the parts of us together. That's what the becoming part is. But today, we're going to be talking all about what is unlearning. I want to offer a definition, my interpretation of that definition, perhaps what are the types of things that you could unlearn, some of my personal experiences that showed me that I needed to unlearn some things in order to have a more fulfilling life, and perhaps a little bit about the tools that one could use to begin to unlearn. So, when I looked on Google at the definition of unlearn, this is what I read. To unlearn is to discard something that's learned, especially a bad habit or false or outdated information from one's memory. And the example that they gave was teachers are being asked to unlearn rigid rules for labeling and placing children. I thought that was a really astute and perfect example. So for me, unlearning has, unlearning has truly been all about that. All about noticing the outdated beliefs and habits that I have that really aren't serving me. And I think it's normal for most people to have many, many layers of things to unlearn. As children, we're just information sponges. We have the highest neuroplasticity that we'll ever have in our lives, as far as I'm aware. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that basically means that we are machines for being conditioned. We are being conditioned very, very rapidly. At least this is my take on it. We're being conditioned very rapidly so that we can fit in with the cultural and societal norms of our group. And that first group is really our family and the broader culture and whoever else interacts with your family. And so it's actually to our advantage, I would think, from a survival standpoint, to absorb all this information and just kind of accept it as truth at the beginning of our lives. And then we get to discover, once we gain a sense of autonomy and independence, or at least the outer trappings of that, we get to discover that maybe some of the things that I've been taught to believe about myself, about relationships, about education, about what things are valuable and what things aren't valuable. I mean, I have a whole list here on my phone that I've made. Beliefs about friendships, relationships, what love is and what love actually means. We're conditioned into so many beliefs that, looking back, at least on my own particular journey, I'm like, wow, that is so not true. Or at least I've discovered that to be so not true over the course of my life so far. We absorb ideas about just, again, our broader culture and socialization of what's acceptable and not acceptable. We absorb ideas about race and sexism and misogyny that are, again, just not reflective of the way that we should treat humans. We gain ideas about our relationship with nature and our place in nature that are really errant. One of the really profound things that I'm unlearning right now is, really perceiving myself as being separate from nature. And instead learning to see, well, what is my truth, which is that I am part of nature. And as such, I have cycles and rhythms. And I require a certain amount of rest and laying fallow in order to actually bring forth nutritious, wonderful, beautiful things for the rest of the world when I'm ready to flower again. So that's been a really profound thing to start to unlearn, personally. Other things, ideas about productivity and effort really go hand in hand with this whole idea of us being part of nature. It's very easy to adopt that cultural and societal belief that like we must always output at a consistent level, that powering through is the way to go. We can unlearn what it means to move and be physical beings in this world. From such a really young age, we're taught to not honor our bodily signals of like, I need to move, I need to stretch, I need to breathe fresh air, because we're inside all the time. And then we slowly become conditioned to just accepting that, I guess I'm supposed to be inside all the time. And we start to not really know how to interpret our body's signals and needs anymore. We're often taught, you're eating too much or you're eating too little, and don't really get an idea of how to actually listen to our true hunger and thirst. Other things that are important to unlearn are black and white thinking, which really, to me, is a loss of playfulness and creativity and experimentation. Moving into black and white thinking, yeah, there's no room for options. So that's a massive mindset that is immensely helpful to unlearn. I think that just about covers the scope of what I want to address about unlearning right now. Now, I think I'd like to talk a little bit about my personal experience of when I've known that I needed to unlearn something. So, let me step back into my freshman year of college. So I'm like 33 now. That was a long time ago. I was 18 when I went to college. I was a little older. I'm not a math person, and I didn't do the math before this, so screw that. So I was however long ago, and I was just so empty. So empty. I had gotten into a conservatory. I was a violinist at that time. You know, had studied for years and years and years and worked so hard over the course of my middle school and high school years to just get better and better and better at violin, and joined a conservatory, was elated. You know, this was my first sign that I was successful and that I had kind of made it into this world. And I was working with what I thought was a dream teacher, and I was just so empty. I don't know how many of you have seen the show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, but at the start of the show, it starts off with her being a lawyer, working in a law firm in New York City. She's offered the position of partner at their law firm, and she starts hyperventilating and you know, excuses herself to go like get a smoothie or something, and she's like, this is what happy feels like. This is what happy feels like, just trying to convince herself over and over. I can very much relate to that feeling and that experience, because for the whole first part of my freshman year, I was like, what is wrong with me? I am so empty. On the one hand, I was having some exciting experiences, but day to day, I just had no motivation to do anything. I was so motivated by shoulds. Literally everything in my mind was like, I should do this, I should do this, I'm terrible because I didn't do that. It was just like a non-stop inner critic party, basically. Yeah, that emptiness was so prevalent, and I think that was my first clue. I kind of started seeking at that time in my own way, and trying to find answers to what would bring my life meaning, and why didn't I feel like my life was meaningful. I think another sign for me of that I really need to unlearn something, or that I'm up against something that I'm buying into that just isn't serving me and I need to question or let go of, is that I feel like I'm doing all the right things. I'm really trying to like fit myself into this box, trying to be very prescriptive about again, these shoulds, and living by a certain code. And no matter how hard I try, even if I give it my earnest effort and actually do succeed for all outward appearances, I just, again, nothing really feels better. I know it's intellectually supposed to feel better because I succeeded, but that emptiness is still there. Other things that have been signs that I need to unlearn something for me have been physical symptoms, I'll say. And this often looks like just kind of generalized pain, achiness, sluggishness, lethargy, just kind of a pain that won't go away in my body. And that could be a sign potentially that I need to unlearn my sedentary habits. Or honestly, it could be that there's just something that I'm stressed out about that I'm not willing to admit or see, or I'm not truly finding the right approach to get myself back in integrity. And I am experiencing a lot of stress because I haven't resolved this, or because I'm not facing it, and I'm not truly allowing myself to feel and let go of things that are troubling me. And so we know relatively well at this point that stress does have an impact on your immune system and hormones, and causes inflammation, and is also a major contributor to autoimmune disease and other chronic illnesses. And I believe it's Donna Jackson Nakazawa is her name, who's written a lot of books about that, psychoneuroimmunology. And I find that absolutely fascinating. And again, this is one of these things that I would love to dig into on this channel and kind of just help spread the word about, is the impact of stress and on our physical health. So physical malaise is yet another signal that's showing me I might need to question something about the way that I'm living. And if I'm going to question something about the way that I'm living, then I need to question my beliefs, and I need to dig into why am I choosing to live the way that I am right now. For me personally, another final huge sign that there's something that I need to unlearn, i.e. I'm living in a way that is not in alignment with what would really be healthy for me to become or step into, is if I find myself needing a lot of escape and needing a lot of recovery time from my life. So if I am just exhausted by the people that I'm spending time with, if I'm exhausted by my job, if I'm exhausted by where I'm living, if I'm even exhausted just by my own bad habits, that's another thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be the external environment that is exhausting. It could also possibly be something about your own internal environment that you're setting up for yourself. That could be the exhausting part. And that's actually kind of, in my opinion, that's like double exhausting, because I think to myself, oh no, that means that I have to expend effort to change my mindset and my habits, and that's harder than changing something about my external environment. At least for me, sometimes that's true. Yeah, if I need to numb out by watching a lot of TV or scrolling the internet endlessly to distract myself from my troubles, or to distract myself from my sadness, if I need to pretend that tomorrow won't come and there are no consequences to staying up late, and again, like, you know, watching TV or talking to my partner for hours and hours on end, then that's another sign that I am probably trying to escape my life to some degree. So hopefully this is helpful for you to hear someone talk through this. Examples from someone else's own life, of what it feels like when your body and mind and heart and soul are telling you that it's time to unlearn something. A little footnote here. I know I mentioned scrolling endlessly and watching TV. Definitely, I would think have never had an addiction in the stereotypical sense of an addiction. I've never been an alcoholic or a drug addict or any of the addictions that one could have that are more formal addictions. But I definitely recognize the phone use and internet use and workaholism and excessive watching of TV or excessive consumption just of outside things in general can often be a cover-up for something that's happening inside. And I witnessed addiction in my dad. He wouldn't call himself an alcoholic, but I would. I really think he thought that he was just treating himself and giving himself a break after a long, hard day, etc., etc. But I honestly don't know what he would have done without leaning on alcohol as a treat. I think it would have revealed an emptiness that perhaps he wasn't willing to face. That's my take. I think that the real designation of an addiction is my consumption of this thing, or my tight grip on this habit or mindset or whatever it is. Am I able to let it go, first of all? And then second of all, if I let it go, is it going to be revealing a huge gaping wound that I would much rather not look at? So in that regard, I suppose you could look at overuse of internet and television and stuff like that and social media as being an addiction. So anyway, I just thought it was worth adding that little addendum to my statements about internet things and TV things. So I realized after recording for about 45 minutes that this video honestly would better be broken up into 2 separate videos. So that is why I'm here. I'm gonna wrap up this segment all about our introduction to unlearning, and the next video that you'll see will be diving even deeper into the tools and approaches and mindsets and things that we could possibly use to start to unlearn any particular habit or thing in our life. So I'll be kicking off the next video as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, I really appreciate you watching, and I'm just so excited for everything that's coming on this channel, truly. So with that being said, I guess I should start to get into the habit of saying, please like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more updates on this channel and want to keep up with all of the exploring that we're going to be doing. So with that, I'll end this video and see you next time. Bye.